Welcome to the Land of Lakes country again.
Oh, thank you very much, Leigh. Thank you. And good to see you last night, by the way.
Oh, thank you. Enjoyed hearing you on stand with George Avalaz, and you've been traveling the world.
Traveling the world is right. My gosh, we're Japan and Australia and Argentina, all over Europe.
I remember you saying last night you've discovered an outstanding pianist in Rome.
Yes.
What is his name?
What is his name? His name is Dado Moroni.
And about how old is he?
23 now. 22 or 23. I first heard him when he was 19 or 20.
I can remember when you were about 13 or 14.
I know you can. How could you remember that? You weren't even born when you...
Oh, you'd be surprised. You and I run somewhat parallel, I think.
Really? I thought you were much younger, Leigh.
Well, maybe I'm holding on to one element of the spirit of eternal youth, but it's a struggle. But, watching you on stand, I go back to the days when you were working with both big bands and small groups, and certainly when you were about 13 or 14, the major clarinetist out there was Benny Goodman.
Yes.
He must have made quite an impression on you because you performed his material on the CBS Swing Club.
Oh, yeah. I tried to emulate Benny for a long time. In fact, although the first jazz clarinetist that attracted my attention was Johnny Mintz with the Tommy Dorsey Orchestra. But then Benny came into focus, and that was it. I idolized Benny. In fact, I have nothing but the highest regard for Benny, always have. Actually, later on, Artie Shaw came on the scene. I seemed to gravitate toward Artie Shaw's playing. From that point on, he seemed to be more of an influence in my playing than Benny, although Benny was the first,
What was it that fascinated you about Artie Shaw's playing that moved you into that focus?
Well, let me see if I can spell it out a little bit later. Benny was what we call arpeggiated jazz, and played with a kind of a Dixie background, the background of Dixieland, and that harmonic structure was the basics. But Artie came through with a different tone concept and also playing linear, that is, making lines instead of arpeggios. He played more lines and played more harmonically, a little more advanced. You see, he took some spectacular chances for those days. I consider his record of Stardust one of the greatest clarinet solos ever recorded. That's a masterpiece. And that's not to take anything away from the late Benny Goodman, because in 1942 a thing called Clarinet a la King was one of the greatest pieces of clarinet I ever heard. So,
that was a miniature concerto, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. I have two versions of that, and that's I felt that Benny really played spectacular on that.
Now, if I remember, was it Eddie Sauter who arranged Clarinet?
Right. He was writing all the stuff. He did, Benny Rides Again, Clarinet a la King, all those things. 1942.
In fact, I'll showcase some Eddie Sauter arrangements for the Ray McKinley Band a little bit later in the night. And
right, good.
He certainly was an inspiration for Goodman.
I'll say he was. That was really... And Georgie Auld was in that band, Davy Tuff, Billy... not Billy, who am I thinking of as Benny's band? Great players, all great players. It was a really hot band. Yeah. And then, of course, later on I heard Charlie Parker, and he influenced me. He turned me around completely. But
what was your first impression of Charlie Parker?
I loved him. I'm happy to say that I was one of the first persons that heard Bird and decided that that's really what I wanted to try to do on the clarinet, was to articulate the way he did.
Well, I heard you, just rippling and whipping through Scrapple from the Apple last night.
Yeah.
That's a test and a half, isn't it?
Test is right, yeah. And it's a test to play that sort of, they called it bebop in those days, but the strangest thing about Charlie Parker is that today in 1986. Wherever you hear anybody playing modern jazz, they're Parker-oriented. It's from that school. And it's amazing how one man's influenced the whole world of jazz.
When you began playing some of Parker's material, what was the challenge for you?
The challenge was technical. I knew I had the feeling of it. It was in my brain and my ears, but spelling it out on the clarinet, because the clarinet is such a rugged instrument. It's unlike any others, especially in the jazz field. And it's a funny instrument. There are two ways of attacking the clarinet. One is it can play you. When it plays you, you're finished. So you have to have control of it all the time. You see?
Oh, that's telling the story.
Yeah, that's really what a clarinet is. You've got to stay with it and hold it in check all the time, because it's a very difficult instrument to play. Extremely difficult.
Well, Buddy DeFranco, I know you're due on stand in a matter of moments. You're
Right.
also moving on to Fargo in the Red River Valley area in Trollwood Park, and
I'm doing a music clinic for a high school there, and doing a concert with a school band, and then some of the professional small group players. So combination of clinic and concerts there in North Dakota.
and when does that take place?
That's Monday and Tuesday.
Well, all of you in Red River Valley, Buddy DeFranco is headed your way, and for those of us in Minnesota, if you have a moment now, just jump in your car and catch Buddy going back on stand
Right.
with a brilliant young pianist, Billy Carruthers.
Carruthers is right. He's another one of the spectacular young players who's going to make his mark in this business, no doubt. And then we have Jay Young on bass.
Yes,
Yeah.
and George Avalos on drums.
Young is Billy Carruthers, but he's a heck of a bass player.
Yes, he is. Well, Buddy DeFranco, you're always gracious, and it's good to see you and hear you and have you in our territory again.
Thank you very much, Leigh, and hope to see you again soon.
Yes, thank you.
Oh.
Good health to you, and much good music and life.
Right, you too now.
Bye-bye.
Bye.